All right, let's go ahead and get ready to take our first trip here into the fog for OBOY versus Astray. And we had talked about it before, Dyer. We're going to be coming out here. We're going to be getting down with the sickness. It looks like we're going to be seeing Wispy on the Plague, Dimal, Rocket, Magic hitboxes out on the Survivor side. Suffocation Pit, sometimes we even saw yesterday in our matchups, sometimes you have to worry about that little bit of RNG coming into play. What are you expecting to see from our survivors here right off the rip loading in?
I expect very good communication. I expect a good mental information where the generators spawn, what kind of setup you're facing on the suffocation pit here, and we do see that our killer Wispy will try to get information as quick as possible. As soon as the survivor is going to touch these objectives, that's going to be the first infection of the game. We will see if OBOY goes for one of the recently returning strategies of hiding out Corrupt here. A lot of people said last year hiding out Corrupt in comp in 222, but it was a successful strategy, but it doesn't seem to be the case here for OBOY. Not the choice for this set on suffocation pit, trying to puke there to the right side, doesn't really catch the survivor, and we are going back into the midsection, the way better location to take the first chase here as we are closer to the active gens on the top side. But the survivor notices that, is rotating back towards the bottom side. So very good start for our survivor team so far, dropping the pallet early as well, preventing the infection so far, and chasing in exactly the area of the map where you want to be chased right now.
Yeah, and the one thing I did want to point out, especially as we see that first M1 coming in here on the hitboxes, we had seen, you had pointed out how we had seen the our killer here try and get the infection onto the gens on the way across. Looking down that bottom left-hand corner, we're going to see the blessed apple, which gives you the extra pull of devotion, but we also have that seal. That's that extra yellow add-on down there. It increases the object infection duration by 30 seconds. So when we come over here, kick this gen, then infect the gen, it's so long before a survivor can touch it without getting infected. Really going to work in favor of our Plague.
This is indeed the case, and hitboxes here with the first injury is also going to work out beautifully with the Thanatophobia there. We do see Eruption, Call of Brine together, so a very aggressive combination, right? You want a lot of pressure, you need a lot of pressure on the survivors, and you need the consistent downs and keeping them busy, for example. So Call of Brine can come back in, but we do notice that I believe there's an issue with the lobby in the background. We are double checking that with our staff team. Would be an average start of a DBDLeague event if we have any issue in the background with the team. So
it would be a tough if that's the case too, because we saw, at least as far as on the survivors, when they loaded in this time, they had it just only basically like a 3-1-3 gen setup. So if they have to restart here, that'd be tough.
Yeah, I believe, however, they're sorting it out in the background. We have a wonderful match staff and staff team, ladies and gentlemen. A short applause for everyone. So if there's indeed an issue, I believe it's on one of the players or something, then we would go for the disconnect here. Doesn't seem to be the case just now. So let's see what Wispy is taking here. We are more than 2 minutes into the trial now. The power is picked up. So this might be the first critical moment here, because if Wispy is able to down the first survivor, especially far in the top side or the bottom side, that would be a very good first down here. So OBOY might need to pull back. We saw a few scratch marks there on the right side. They are already running down towards the shack side, and Wispy, I think, missed that and is still looking on the main side here. And there's the other survivor trying to cross towards the midsection. That should be enough distance to make it into safety here. So not really with the pressure the power is promising from time to time, but the mind game is coming out with the next survivor already. We're rotating over towards this jungle gen. The pallet is dropped in time though. Wispy wasn't expecting that, not charging the puke already. So far OBOY playing so safe here, also staying the winner on these mind games. Rocket doing a wonderful job, is even still healthy, so he could even take one hit here, and the seconds are decreasing, and that's not going to hit Q. That's the first successful running out of power here for Team OBOY.
Yeah, I think right there we're seeing a lot of that experience coming from our Survivor squad. We had seen them pre-leaving, you know, these gens. Oh, we even get the blind here from the blast mine. Honestly, has become one of my favorite perks since we've seen the gen kick meta. Seeing it coming out more and more consistently in the competitive scene, well, I absolutely love to see it. But right now, our survivors, they're doing a really good job. They're applying pressure. We know they've been in this trial for quite some time. Yeah, right now you are working through forced stat, the nanophobia, but they're not worried about cleansing or anything yet. They're just pre-leaving these gens, and they know that they're slowly but surely going to continue to crank these things out. The one thing you do have to worry about, though, we've got 3 gens that are lit up from that eruption. Once this down comes out, if our survivors aren't careful, you might have a couple of incapacitated survivors as well.
And now there is the punishment for Wispy here for taking too long. That's going to be the first one on to Rocket. Here, eruptions kicking in on this generator, but you lost one so far. Now, let's talk about this first generator, right? It has taken quite some time here, but I don't think... What is this? On the Claudette there! Wait, I was making a point, but this... Okay, she's back. She's good, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what she can do now. Short, funny moment there by Behavior. Greetings to the developers. Rocket with the first hook stage here. The first generator took a while, but I don't really think OBOY can be blamed here, because this is how a good Plague is approaching it, right? Putting you under pressure, forcing you into a very careful playstyle, and judging that we have 2 generators done in exchange for just 1 hook stage, and the survivors also being very carefully which location they are picking for the next chase. I do still believe OBOY is in a very, very good spot here. We have 1 survivor pressuring the hook, so Wispy can't even freely do anything or check on other gens, because they would immediately reach out. This 3 gen here is a little bit tough. This one in the midsection here supports Wispy as well, but I see them able to break that.
Yeah, this is a tough situation. If you would have been able to get this hook maybe about 20-30 seconds sooner, you wouldn't be so worried about it, right? But right now you do know you've got some survivors cranking on these generators. We know even us, we can see the pair here that's got the one on Pride Rock just about ready to go. Rocket does get forced into a second stage, but now that almost resets your tension, right? Because now you've already got a second stage force. You don't have to get the save right away. You can kind of crank into these gens a little bit more. At the same side, as far as for Wispy, you can still kind of patrol these gens, so it's kind of this weird little tug of war back and forth. I still feel like, as far as for the side of the survivors, because of that first chase, you do have the ability to play a little bit more loose. I would probably move in and try and move for a trade on this hook, honestly.
Yeah, this trade is a good thing you mentioned, and it seems like OBOY is taking your advice. They are going for hitboxes here, just getting away with being fully broken, and there is the trade immediately, right? 1 commitment onto the hitboxes, instantly the trade-off already there, and it is not even ending in a trade-off queue. They are making it towards the bottom side here. Wispy is forced to leave the setup to commit to this survivor. The punishment will be so high, because Shack Pallet is also here going to secure a longer chase, and now you need a really, really quick down to make this work. But we are not even running the Shack, because another filler pallet is down here in the corner next to the Shack, which would be considered the location 7 in the comp language for everyone who's joining in. Competitive teams are using a clock call-out system basically on this map. The main building is the 12, the Shack is the 6, and then you're going by the hours on a clock or watch interface. So this would be the 7 down there. Rocket is going to cleanse, and Wispy realizes that it was not the best idea to go all the way to the bottom, especially when so much time is lost here. Now is the issue, though. You went for that, you were returning, but you got nothing for yourself. OBOY starts to cleanse. OBOY still spreading across the generators here. A 4th one will be done any second. So, Q, I'm starting to get worried about Astray's Plague here.
Yeah, you know, I feel like once you commit down to that bottom side, once you're in that corner at 7, you've also forced 2 of the stronger pallets that were down that corner. I feel like you just commit to the elimination, because we can even see at this point, especially with that gen getting complete, which now means only 1 more gen needs to be complete before the doors can be powered up. You're back up in this portion of the map, and now you're not even on the survivor. You've got a fresh survivor here. It's going to take longer on this chase. I feel like we kind of missed out on an opportunity to at least speed up your process of your accumulation of hooks. This is tough. At least you got Rocket down, though.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to get someone instead of no one, right? And even though it's not the survivor you want, if it's not the tunnel out, a few points will be important for trial too. We get the down now onto Rocket, so the tunnel out is now very delayed actually happening. We have 3 fully broken survivors. They would need to cleanse and give access to the power here. Ace is going to take the distance towards the main building because the Plague is already approaching closely here, going for a little vault here. So that's going to be the break of the pallet. More resources leaving the trial, but that should be enough to reach the window here. But no, nice one there. Very nice missions here again. Look at that. Very insane here. And okay, now we have a big issue. The game just crashed. We have seen the amazing animation on Claudette there in the trial, and there's another bug. This is, unfortunately a crash onto our spectators. Sometimes, we said it before, sometimes we are facing things in DBDLeague we cannot control. We still apologize, obviously, but all right, everyone, welcome back. We already have the result for you. Q and me were just discussing it. We have 7 stages out of this game. So luckily, there was not so much happening more, which we missed. That is the good news first. We apologize again. As said, we cannot control some of the things we are facing with this game. We're trying our best, though. So 7 stages, 2 survivors were fully killed. And the second survivor hitboxes, the Kate was hooked once.
All right, let's go ahead and get ready to take another trip here back into the fog, going back to the suffocation pit. This time, though, out on the Plague, we're going to be seeing hitboxes over on our survivor side. Wispy, Julian, Zim, Zaphis. Those are going to be our survivors here. 15-17 being the current scoreline. I would say pretty solid performance. What do you expect to see as far as on our killer side here to try and match that performance, Dyer?
Yeah, to be honest, if I hear the name hitboxes, I always think about Nurse in the first place. I know that he is really good with pressure. I know that he's really good with spreading pressure across an entire team. I honestly have never seen him play, but I hope that these talents we just mentioned, he's able to pull exactly these into this trial here. We see a little bit of a similar approach like Wispy had. We are trying to go for the information pukes here. As soon as a survivor would go for the generator, they would be infected, but it seems like that Astray is pulling it a little bit slower here on their behalf. They're hiding behind the boxes, not showing themselves in the open here. So I expect the Plague to kind of find someone, because if Corrupt Intervention would be actually hidden out on a map like Suffocation Pit, where you want to work with a specific gen setup from early on, that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah, and especially because here too, I mean, one thing that we had seen, at least that was working on Wispy's side, when they had infected the gens on the way over, thanks to that extra seal add-on, it was a little bit longer before the survivors could work on it. But as far as for now when we're looking at things, you have the double apple, which will help you maybe later have more access to the power, but you already have survivors able to start cranking all these gens. You need early pressure. You need a big down here, and I mean, at least you started the progress as far as this first chase, but the chase is going exactly where you need it, which is in this corrupted side of the map. We're working a very big tile here, gonna be able to avoid the puke at least this time around, but Julian unfortunately over rotates on the rock. First down comes in relatively quickly here, but not sure how much pressure we see on these gens. I feel like we got to have at least one popping soon, right?
I would hope so, but that's the issue if you're hiding out Corrupt Intervention, right? Yeah. Or if you're playing here, you see it, 20% there, 15% on this one. This is the punishment on the survivor side. Of course, if this strategy works, it is potentially still one of the most powerful early game tactics that exist in Dead by Daylight, but it is a high risk, and after 7 stages, I'm not sure if Astray was in such a bad or difficult position to pull this strategy. I believe they could have played it with a normal approach and still go for a good result that could have taken set number 1. Now they are going to be in a very, very difficult spot here. First hook stage is not going to be punished with any generator here. Julian is very likely going to be camped into the second stage here. The killer has the time. We do see 80% on this generator over here, but we will have the first survivor in struggle already, so Julian can be eliminated from the trial in a couple of seconds here. And ARP, Suffocation Pit, these are 2 maps that are really, really hard once you're dropping down to 3 survivors in your team. So Astray needs one hell of a generator efficiency now, and they will need a very good chase or a very good protection onto Julian.
Yeah, and the one thing that's working in your favor here as well as far as for our killer, you know, normally we see a lot of times our killers try and play this thing on the top side because Suffocation Pit, very notorious for having those 4 and 5 gens up there, but with this early down, you're able to protect the 3 gen that's on this bottom side. This 4th gen that is in the middle, kind of almost more rotated in that side part where it's almost closer to where that hook is. So you still have a lot of good map control, and with the fact that you can follow up a very quick down after that unhook here, now making this a 3v1 before the 3rd gen pops. Honestly, right now, oh boy, in all of the control of the match.
Yeah, this is going to be a real... trying to ride there. This is the support you are looking for when you need a longer chase time right now. Julian dead though, 3 generators remaining, and we just have 4 additional hook stage that could be applied here. Mag, however, is doing a good job. That's Wispy just played the Plague for Astray, and we do need to get a down here on the side of OBOY, but it's not going to happen just yet. Another blind coming through. Really good job so far. A chain blind even coming out for longer distance here, longer destruction. A little bit of puking. That's not going to find the target, but what a wonderful hit box here onto the mag after this mind game, and they are going for a pallet save here. At least setting it up, and that's actually going to happen. Zaphis showed himself to make the killer believe that there's too much distance, and then Sim was rotating in. Very, very well played here. Now you need to quickly hop back onto the generators to make the most out of this loss of time here.
Yeah, that was a big team play to be done, but you had mentioned it. Now you got to go back to being efficient on the gens because that required all 3 players to not be working on those gens here. So we're going to be seeing this chase now moving back here towards the shack. It is a pretty strong tile. We're going to be seeing Zaphis starting to get infected, but if there's anything that we've seen thus far is we know that they're very effective with that puke. If they happen to get just on into an open space, kind of like we're seeing here, we may be seeing Zaphis getting the rest of the way to getting broken. At least they're able to make their way through the pallet, but I think we've already used the pallet, I think, in our 4 lane here, so I don't know what kind of resources are in this area, but now we're back to the point. All 3 survivors being fully infected, any of them if getting caught out of position would then be going down. And the other thing that we didn't talk about, we're not worrying about the nanophobia. I think that shows a lot of confidence on the side of hitboxes here.
I have to agree on that, but the confidence of hitboxes is stronger than the confidence of the survivor team here at the moment. Looking at the score up there, 22-23, we are in such a difficult spot now. Any hook stage or any generator can swing it into the advantage of either side here. We do see a back and forth patience game once again. Claudette does not drop this pallet, and she does get this stun out as well here. Very, very well played on this main building. Rotation back from hitboxes towards the generators here. We do see a pretty good, almost a 2-2 split here. This generator is far enough towards the top side that you can leave it into safety here. So not the worst position for Astray. The only difficulty is that you cannot hand out a lot of hook stages anymore. So the pressure on that side is even higher together with the tactic you need now.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is you've been able to buy a lot of time. There's your 4th gen actually popping here. So even though it looked like they were in a pretty dire spot there for a moment, they're actually doing a pretty solid job. We are going to be seeing that sound notification though, which does bring Hitbox's attention over here. This is actually going to cause our Claudette here, Zaphis, to get caught pretty well into dead zone here. That's going to be a down, a little bit of eruption value over across the way, but that does still leave one additional survivor that we haven't seen for a while. If they can crank out these gens, this is only hook stage number 4. Technically, they could crank out one of these gens if they're close enough, still make a play for the save. There's no no-hit or anything like that coming in to worry about as far as an instant down here. So I feel like this game could still swing either way.
This is definitely the case here. Zafis on the hook is... Oh, this would have been so bad if this survivor would have gone down, but what a nice reaction here by Xim, but they have to work with this filler pellet here in this dead zone. We also need the save on the top side there before we can get the last generator done, because I don't think they are ready just now. And is this going to be enough?
No.
Yes, because it was meant to be a fake. Dragon coming out! What an insane play here! So this is very well done by Team Astray. This is exactly what you need when we are talking about a comeback. 4 stages so far, and now you can see Hitbox immediately rotating back, realizes that he cannot be too lenient here. They need this save, but there's no way out with 2 stacks coming out as well. So this is such a back and forth queue. They have to go back, I believe. Otherwise, 5 stages. If they get
if they don't have,
it would be enough, right?
Yeah, they don't have to get out here. So you're gonna see at this point, Hitbox is gonna pull this corrupt pool that's as far away as possible, because both of the doors are on that bottom side of there, and we actually have been able to find some scratch marks. We're going to be able to see a save, but because of this 2 stacks of that no way out, there's a little bit of time on the doors. But if you're able to find either of these fresh hook survivors, get them down, and then be able to keep them in this trial, that would be enough. So we're still far from having a decision here. We also have to remember we did have a chase earlier that did happen to go on for quite a bit on this bottom side of the map. So the resources, not that much left. There's going to be a down here as far as our Wispy. Now we're also going to have another one coming in there. So I mean, you've got plenty of bodies on the floor, plenty of hook states to accumulate. There's going to be a door open, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think OBOY's got enough.
That is indeed the case here. Wispy and Zafis staying behind, especially with Wispy, the fresh hook here, coming on to the hook. That would be enough to just camp it out. But this is what we talked about before, right? You have a good reason to take some confidence out of this trial with how you just played this and how you basically made a little bit of a comeback here when going for this. So Zaf is still down here, except is healthy in the trials. So might be an interesting one if they still try to pull something, and that looked like a little lag on the Plague as well. Please, no second issue here in this
Well,
second
I'm trying to
trial.
think, right, it's 7 stages, so I mean, technically, there's still play that could be made, but that's why I'm kind of curious why you don't just secure Zappers and then it's either one of them goes into a second stage. Here's going to be one survivor is going to be going down, but I think even once that trade comes out, you're fine, because you still have 2 players down on the ground. I feel like we should have just been able to secure hook stages. I feel like we're just going for, I mean, you can go for extra here, which would be the case. There's going to be all 4 of them, well, 3 of them left on the ground, which means this is going to be a 4K. This is big momentum for OBOY here in set number 1.
Yeah, that this endgame play didn't work and increases the score to a 28-10 performance now in this second trial here. That's going to be really big here. And I believe Hitbox is playing straight again when I'm looking onto the Nurse set there. So you just played a wonderful play game. You're now coming out with the Nurse on the Cold Tower. So you have, as you say, so many and good reasons to feel absolutely confident there. But Zaf has made his way out last second there. So I think this was a very good example how much it goes back and forth in the second set here. I think we got kind of a little idea here.
Yeah, it definitely lets you know how tight the competition is going to be. You mentioned Hitboxes is going to be coming should be right back out here again on this Nurse set. The Survivor's obviously going to be right back out here because it does have that snake format. So Zappos, I believe, was just the 1 stage, but I mean, really good performance from Hitboxes here. This isn't going to be a matchup that I would want to step away from. I know we're going to have ourselves a quick break between set number 2, but I would make sure that you're not switching away too far. Just make sure you go grab yourself a glass of water, because this is going to get close. Yeah, now we're going to be seeing here, though. I mean, at this point, it's a tough situation to be in if you're Astray, because you got to go into this set now. After a big point difference, you got to find a way to go in here and set the tone on that survivor side when we get out of this break here. So we'll be back. We're going to be going. We'll be seeing the Nurse here in set number 2 between OBOY and Astray right after a break.
All right, we are back. Hitboxes is indeed the Nurse for Team OBOY here. Wispy, Julian, Sim, and Zaphis. So basically a rematch, just with a different killer on a different map, with the Nurse on the Coal Tower. Now let's talk about the Nurse here. She was planned to be on the Rancid Abattoir, a more challenging map, but with the incoming changes behavior is going to apply on the Nurse, we decided to put her on Coal Tower because there we have the most data, the most statistics to monitor her performance during the winter circuit. Wispy, however, is a very known Nurse, so I do expect him to lead the Survivor team a little bit with the experience that is coming out right there. Hitboxes already spots the first Survivor just 15 seconds into this game, has paired Corrupt Intervention with a Sloppy Butcher, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Corn of Brine, so I do expect a very aggressive playstyle here.
Yeah, I think especially when you see the Pop Goes the Weasel, it lets you know that you're expecting to be able to get rewarded from your downs, which shows a lot of confidence here. We're going to be seeing that first M1 coming in across onto Julian. It was just a 1 blink, which means that quick recharge back to 2, trying to see if we can find the location. Really good job by the Survivor here to go ahead and actually tuck back inside the shack, trying to keep this aggro back here on this bottom side of the map, because that gives enough time for our other 3 Survivors here to try and start attacking the generators. The only problem is going down to take a quick nap here. Julian does, it's a relatively fast down. Hopefully we have at least 2 Survivors maybe paired up on a gen, having one relatively close. We can see this one there sitting right around that 65% marker, but that's where that Pop Goes the Weasel can give you big value, right, Dyer?
Absolutely, yeah. This is exactly the playstyle you need to make the most out of this perk. We do see the Survivors over here on the left side, and now it's exactly the best thing that can happen, stopping a generator from being completed with Pop Goes the Weasel, Call of Brine doing even more work right here. Nia is just getting away with no hit. Very important for Kobe here to take a little bit of distance and not taking a hit so far, but it is immediately one applied by Hitboxes. Now Julian, however, has received the reset, but it seems like Hitboxes is so confident. Don't see the typical one, and that hard is not going to be enough. Hitboxes not even scared of the shark pallet there, is just going to confidently blink a second time. What a well done performance here. It's going to be a nice hook in the middle of the map as well, where you can have an overview and reach to every single generator there on this one again. And I feel like Pop is coming in clutch once again here.
Yeah, right on back over to this generator. We're going to be seeing another Pop Goes the Weasel kick on this gen that our competitive players would be considering at that 9 portion of our map. We're going to be seeing, though, very quickly able to find Zim on the Kate. That's another Survivor that you're going to have to worry about being injured here. I would imagine we're going to be seeing the reset, onto Kopi relatively quickly here. But we have to remember, right now, you still haven't completed a gen. Last thing that you would want would be this thing quickly becoming a 3v1. So you got to be careful as far as these Survivors getting found in chase.
And Hitboxes seems to be a little bit unsure where to go next. Everyone with a reset, that is usually not what we see in a Nurse game, that the Nurse is giving so much space that the Survivor can heal each other. So this is a nice fight from Astray here, taking a little bit of momentum back to them. That was a short travel under the whole tower. Behavior seems to have a very strong day today, and that's going to be now the next one on to Wispy here. And it's
listen, it's fine. It's DBD. We're existing here on this very beautiful Sunday evening, afternoon, depending on where you're at. But that is going to be a down. That's the 3rd one coming in here. We did see a 1st gen popping, however, that's now a 3rd hook, another fresh hook here as well. And I'm gonna be curious to see it. I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a spectator thing right here or if that is a connection issue onto Hitboxes. Our staff team will investigate that. But It looks like a spectator bug, honestly, and I mean it falls in line with the crash of our spectator in the play game with the weird thing we have seen. So sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, I can just say it again. We are trying our best, but sometimes we are facing a few issues with this game by default that we cannot control. So we appreciate everyone suffering with us through this, because as you can imagine, our team is always starting to sweat when stuff like that appears. But it seems to settle a little bit. Hitboxes is back on the tail of the survivors here, but he definitely lost the pressure here.
Yeah, I mean, but you do have 4 hook stages still at this point. You're not in the worst of positions. Also, too, you still have Wispy, who has not been able to get healed because of that broken status from that deliverance. Also, the deliverance as well means it's one less of those second chance bursts you have to worry about from here on out, right? So it's one of those already done, out of the way. Knock that checkbox out here, and you're not in a terrible position because it has only been 1 gen. What you need right now, though, you need to find someone, and you need to get it down relatively quickly here. The good news for you is you've been able to find one of your injured survivors. I believe that's Kobe here, the Nia. Now, as long as you can get the location and you get the down here, and you're gonna be down this bottom side of the map where a lot of your hooks have been, you still got good map control here.
You still have
and she slaps him with the D!
This is exactly why we have Q on the desk for these moments in the nurse sets. What a great one by Kobe here, able to run a little bit longer and forcing hitboxes into taking it safe and going for a new double blink. But Kobe once again breaking line of sight here. I start to assume that hitboxes is now kind of feel the pressure on the shoulders, because this looks way less confident than we started this trial here, and this survivor gets away as well. So we have just 2 injuries. We have seen the survivor squad being able to heal this before, so not entirely sure what is happening right now in the VC of OBOY right there, but it's very important now that you build up momentum for your killer and support him, because he seems like on edge to letting it slip here.
Yeah, you definitely got to be a little concerned, but able to find Zim here. And again, this is going to be another hook that's back here in this bottom portion of the map. And we had seen that generator over there kind of close to where our competitive players would call like our 3-4-ish portion of the map. It's just about ready to go, but when we happen to see our nurse here turn around, there's still 3 gens that are relatively kind of around that hook stage. So you still have some map control. Plus you've been able to get, I believe, 3 of the 4 fresh hook stages. So you're not in as bad of a position as it might feel like. The only problem is you don't have anything to help you in the end game, because you brought in so much as far as the call of Brian and that pop, which was supposed to help you with the slowdown during the trial.
And we do see our lag boxes is going back towards the bottom side here, and that is generator number 4, while we see the coal tower from the bottom once again here. So sometimes you need to take it with a little bit of a joke, and that's going to be Wispy with the next injury here. Now, this is what you mentioned, right? No endgame perks, so you need a very good run here, and this is exactly how you started off. What a wonderful double blink here onto Wispy. Quick down, hook stage, pop goes the weasel applied on a generator, and then you need the next down here already, because 6 stages so far is very, very low compared to the average statistics of the coal tower here. So we need more pressure, but that's going to be the same together with the final generator here. Xim is going down. There's going to be the next survivor for the people coming out, but it is going to be the down straight again. And now Kobe with the broken status effect, actually in a difficult spot, but it's just enough with the dead heart here. So this is going to be a very spicy endgame with so many up and downs possible.
Yeah, this is really tough here, especially because you still have the slug across the way. You can still build some momentum. Remember, this is a nurse. This is one thing where that's kind of like the benefit of playing the nurse as far as on the killer side. You always have a little bit of snowball potential, but now you see Zim getting picked up off of the ground. I feel like Zim would have been the player that you would have preferred to have gotten put up onto a hook. That would have been worth 2 stages as opposed to just the 1 stage that you're getting from Wispy. But now you're going to see trying to make their way across. Can they potentially find one more survivor here before the 3 of them get out the door? That's the real question, and there it is. That's going to be the down onto Zin here, which was your survivor that you initially left slugged anyways.
We have the nurse in our face as well.
This POV is kind of...
this, when you think, okay, we saw the Holter from the bottom behavior has one additional step for us to show us. So let's see the mask of the nurse here. Very nice skin. Hitboxes is really +2 points. Kopi is going to die. Wispy already dead. Xim is very likely not going to make it out either because Julian is just heading towards the exit gate. Q. When I'm looking at this, I don't feel like this was the result that was necessary, especially the For the People play has yeah, it caught me by surprise a little bit because once again I thought like Astray is not in the need to pull such a For the People play. They could have taken 2 survivors out of the door here. They tried, we appreciate that, but it is going to be 11 stages, I believe, and the result, Julian, was the 2-staged. So we will get the confirmation on that by our staff team in the background, and it is going to be the 4th trial that might push OBOY towards winning this entire best of 3. We will see you after the break.
All right, let's go ahead and get ourselves ready for another trip back into the fog. Trial number 4, second trial of our second set, Astray. In a tough spot here, essentially needing to hit that 11 hook count in order to be able to walk away and force a 3rd set, which, as we talked about heading into the matchup today, would be the Doctor. So a lot on the table here. Daimao, Rocket, LaMagic, Hitboxes going to be out on the Survivor side. Julian going to be up, coming out on the Nurse on Astray. So no Wispy this time around. We are going to be seeing, as we load in, looks like we're going to be seeing a little bit of a, not quite a split corrupt. Interesting though with how the corrupt is the middle gen. That's because there's not that typical 3 gen up on this top side of the map. If we could see Julian get a down back here on this bottom side of the map, it could really work in their favor with this gen said Pillow.
That's going to be the first one onto Rocket here. Is it going to be a quick down just 40 seconds into the game? The answer is no, because you just hold W away from the Nurse, trying to waste as much time as possible here. Let's see if it's going to be a better one. No, Rocket not able to outplay the Nurse here as Edge Map Andy. So that's going to be the first quick down. Good thing Corrupt Intervention is over. So we do face the same combination here with the Sloppy Butcher, Call of Brian, Pop Goes to Weasel. We'll see if Julian can take the same out of that combination. 24-12 was the score of the previous game, so it is quite a clear result, but a few stages still left the trial here, which makes me believe there was the chance for a no way out or a no one escapes death, because you could go for a 4-game endgame stack to secure your win here.
Yeah, I think your thought process here though is try to accumulate hook stages. What's interesting, I know as much as we normally see when there's an early down, kind of like Julian has achieved here, sometimes we see those killers try and make sure they just guarantee themselves a second stage, but I think when you look around, you see all of these generators that are on the bottom side of the map. I think you have to put down a little bit of additional pressure. You're at least going to be able to make your way back here, as we see the Ace making their way in. Not going to be able to avoid the unhook, not going to be able to avoid this, or should I say force the second hook stage, but now since you've got one survivor down on the ground, you can go ahead and continue chase here with Rocket. You can count down that borrowed time, going to be jumping into the locker, can only assume that they're trying to force the grab here. Rocket going to go and get snatched up out of the locker. The only question is, since you were just up on the hook, is that the decisive strike not going to be the case? Now you have LaMagic getting picked up off the ground. Question is, was that unbreakable, or did that require an additional player to come over and pick them up off the ground?
Very good pressure so far by Julian here. 1 injured and 1 on the second stage already. Keeping it safe here. Not going to use the double blink just yet, and actually rotating away, expecting the survivors to go for the unhook, and that was a very, very amazing call here. What a game sense by Julian, returning the perfect moment and making sure that the survivor that rotated in can't go for the unhook, and that also means that one survivor was just taking a lot of time, right? So that's going to be the difficult one for OBOY now, because you usually want all hands that could possibly work on generators right there, and this is now going to be denied. And Q, if I'm looking at the position Julian is in, I think that's just going to be the elimination onto Rocket here, if everything goes to plan.
Yeah, and you know, I can't help but wonder if with the elimination coming across, where's at least the third generator? If you would have just left them up on the hook instead of worrying about coming in for the gen, you could have put 3 survivors up on different generators and at least gotten that much. I feel like on the survivor side, you needed a little bit more here. If you're oh boy, you already had Astray on, you know, their backs up against the rope, needing a tough win condition, and I think you just opened up that back door just a little bit, giving them an opportunity to step right back into this thing.
And this opportunity is not what you usually want to hand out, especially when playing against such a strong killer on this very, very small map, or relatively small map compared to other comp ones. The Magic is going to take the balanced landing here, but it's not going to be able to pull anything out of it. So that's just going to be a quick redown. Hook stage number 4 coming in for Julian here, and that's also going to be the very known and very, very difficult basement of the coal tower right between the generators here. So you couldn't be in a more luxury position as the killer. Very good from OBOY, however, that they just got this mid generator done, and the deliverance might be able to change a few things around here. The Magic is going to make it out of the main building. We will see if there's any perk path with this deliverance. Nice use of the flashlight, but unfortunately not able to deny. The blink pickup is going to come through, and that's going to be a very deciding moment. But it is just going to be hook stage number 5 coming out, but 4th generator already ready to go.
Yeah, we see here right now OBOY doing a really good job pushing back with the pressure. A 4th gen getting complete as we see a 5th hook stage. The only problem here now is, as you see, looking around with where this hook is, you've got this generator up at this top left-hand portion of the map. There's actually a generator that's pretty close to where that hook stage was. They've kind of played themselves into the 3 gen that was up on the top side of this map here, and it is a 3v1 as well. You got to be worried if the Magic gets found and you get turned into a 2v1 without a 5th gen popping. Could be a really tough position here for OBOY. Luckily for you, you would be able to rely on a 3rd set, but I don't think I would want to give momentum over to Astray right now. I think I'm looking to try and end this thing in 2 straight sets, but again, they have played themselves to a very, very tough situation.
And now we have to see if they are going for the reset. Yeah, for once it's not cast a curse, it's cast as prediction here. And now you have 3 healthy survivors on 3 generator remaining, and this is the moment where I feel like no one escapes death would have come in clutch. However, if you look at this wonderful region, what we are talking about, this triangle of left side, top left side, and the main building, that's going to be a very difficult one to pop here. However, the generator on the left side does offer a little bit of safety, and Julian now getting nervous. The same thing we have seen on hitboxes in the previous trial, so I can only hope that Julian gets a very quick down here.
Yeah, right now you need a big down because you know that these survivors are going to be pre-leaving these gens. You know that their communication is going to be on point. What's interesting, though, is you still see a couple of these survivors even taking chase up towards the main building, which sometimes sounds like a great idea, but of course against a nurse, you got a killer that kind of breaks the rules, right? Able to go through the walls, able to not really work all the way around that big old tile there. We do see timeout is going to get found. The Claudette has nothing better to do, or I shouldn't say anything better to do, but there's no better options here but than to just bury themselves up into this top right-hand corner. Now, this is going to be one of those, double-sided edges of a sword. The good news is they're kind of away from the 3 gen, so that's going to require one of these survivors to kind of get away from the 3 gen in order to come in for the save, but you're not exactly going to be able to control these gens while controlling the hook at the same time. But that is a 3rd fresh hook here.
That is indeed the 3rd one coming out. They're now already rescued here, so we are back in the trial with 3 survivors that can go for these generators. Pop goes to Weasel one more time. Call of Brian coming out. We are seeing one behind the main building, one straight behind them. Right? That's going to be the difficult thing here, because you always need to be aware. If I'm chasing someone, they will pop onto these generators behind me in my back, and this pop goes to Weasel. It helps, but it doesn't do the work for you, and therefore you have to hit Daimao and let him go, rotating back towards the left side of the coal tower here. They are not quite able to finish this generator yet, but I feel like OBOY is able to put percentage after percentage slowly into these generators here. So I believe just going for a reset is the best option here. It seems like that's going to be the case. The Magic already rotating back towards the shack area, but is caught by Julian here. Very nice work denying the free reset with at least one healthy survivor, and catching these two is really huge. Hitboxes with a counter dead hard just last second. Yeah, otherwise that would have been horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah, but the only problem here now, as far as for the survivor side, all three of them are injured. And of course, with the ability to traverse the map here, Julian can really put a bunch of pressure down. We do see the hook or the save, or wow, I just said two different things that it's not. It was the reset though that comes in across onto the Magic. So trying to fight back a little bit against the pressure in their own right. They still need to get this gen though done. Remember, they need to at least get 2 stages out in order to run things back. Preferably, they're looking to get 3 stages out and wrap things up here in just 2 sets. There's Diamond. It's going to go down onto the ground here at this point. Oh, no, not like this. Decade also going to get found here as well. The Magic, if they aren't going to be able to get this 5th gen popped, and even if they do, I don't know if they can get out of the doors in time. I think they might have just thrown too many stages here at Julian.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one, with hitboxes also being the fresh hook here. It's not going to look the best, and not even finishing that last generator. And look at that, with the pop goes to Weasel, it almost goes back to 0Q. So that's going to be really, really tough here. Daimao checking. Daimao still over here, not going to receive the pickup just yet because hitboxes is prioritized. They do get that off. Julian gave that to them because he was assuming Edgemap Andy would be behind the rocks there on the left side, which was the wrong call. So OBOY has one additional chance here, I would say, but with hitboxes going down straight again,
Pick him up.
I feel like he can just go for the collection of the hook stages here, and that would mean.
And she slaps him with the D.
That's why you said pick him up, not because of the points. You just wanted to hit the decisive shot. I see what you're doing there. But hitboxes gets a little bit of distance here. But Q, I feel like we are slowly working towards the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be seeing a 3rd set here, especially because we've seen pretty well all of our second chance perks at this point from OBOY. We've seen the Deliverance earlier on. We've seen the Decisive Strike just now. And even if the Magic has just been simply holding M1, trying to get this 5th generator complete, you still need to get 2 stages out the door. And that's a really tall task. Even Ace doesn't have enough stages to be able to. You got to get more than just Ace out the door here. So, I think we're going to be seeing the Doctor set for sure.
I believe so as well. They're going for one more save onto hitboxes here. Damao still the slugged one. Le Magic with the sprint burst coming out here, trying to take a little bit of distance. But Julian has shown us 2 confident blinks and 2 well-played performance to let this slip here, especially with the generator still in need to be repaired. He is a little bit confused where they went though, and this is the exciting thing about OBOY, right? I think in this trial alone we have seen 3 mini comebacks, if we could call them. So even if we need the tiebreaker here, someone like Doctor, where it comes to team coordination, taking hits, working together for the greatest efficiency, I feel like OBOY has a very, very strong stance in that one.
Yeah, I mean, OBOY is one of those teams that we have definitely seen really consistent within the DBD community for quite some time. As far as the competitive side, we always know that they're going to fight tooth and nail until the very, very end. The only problem is, even though you do have everyone getting reset, that means that you're not getting progress into the gens here. It's kind of basically allowing Julian to basically just wait until they can find another quick chase here. You can see Le Magic get spotted, is going to try as best as they can to move as close as possible towards the shack, build a little bit of distance here to at least allow for some progress onto the gens. Down in the pallet space, not even going to worry about looking around. No worries about a pallet. Gets done, stupid. Plus 10 wood added to the face. That's going to be Le Magic off the shoulder here as well. The question is this buying enough time for generator number 5?
Generator number 5 is going
close.
to be in 10%, and it's going to be the flashlight save from hitboxes into another one, saying take this with you. The first flashlight save of the Winter Circuit 2023. That's going to go into the archives. The hitboxes is going for one, and we have seen hitboxes pulling multiple flashlight saves in the past, so very, very nice one here. We do know that someone is hiding up there in the main building. Julian with one blink, Julian with the second one. Oh, not finding it. So even a few close back and forth here, but the crazy thing is, Q, OBOY's still in the game.
Yeah, they're still showing plenty of fight, dropping another +10 wood onto the face of Julian here, which is, of course, a little harder to do against the Nurse. Props to Dime out here, but now going to be taking the M1, moving their way up into the middle of the map. There's still 3 survivors in this trial, though. That's plenty of people to be able to start really grinding into these generators. You can even see 2 of them were paired up over here. The problem, though, Magic was trying to prioritize the generators over the heals, which means just one simple M1 would put them onto the ground. However, if you find hitboxes, that's everyone back to injured. Plus now, as they have to kick these gens, the survivors have to go for the resets. The Call of Brian can kick into these gens here as well, and you regain that control. So this is a really critical situation here for both sides at this part in the trial.
And we do have 8 stages, still 2 to go for Julian. I feel like this generator has been kicked, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 times in this trial so far. OBOY basically repaired 9 generators and still not able to go for the doors here. That's how good Julian is when it comes to defending these objectives. They are leaving very early though. At some point I feel like it's coming down to the question once again, who's making the next mistake? Is Julian maybe feeling too confident, potentially going for overcommitment, or as we can see here, the survivor staying a little bit too close? That's not going to work there with the pallets. So that's going to be hitboxes going onto the hook straight again inside, or very close at least, to this 3-gen here that has been built on the top side. So this is also going to be the next elimination, and you see in the main building there that he's teleporting back and waiting once again if someone would fall down, but OBOY learned their lesson.
Yeah, OBOY's learned this time around, but now the problem being it's just 2 players, and now Timeout is going to be sitting on this gen that's in main. You've got Magic that's over by this generator, that's over close to this 9 portion of the map as well. And of course, with the Call of Brian, not only do you get that regression that people love it for, but it also kind of acts as a little bit of map awareness. If people aren't hitting those great skill checks, Timeout goes down. That's 2 stages there. We're just doing a listen, just asserting dominance here. Everything's fine. Now going to actually be moving our way over across the way here towards Magic. The question becomes, can you potentially make any sort of play happen? Because once Timeout happens to get put up onto a hook, you can just camp them out. It doesn't matter if Magic finishes the gen, and even if they leave, that's game.
That is indeed the game here, and that would force us into the Doctor set. Daimao is going onto the hook right here, and we do have the Magic as the final survivor injured as well. So that's going to be the difficult one. Will he maybe escape for like a last second? Nice. Okay, no. The answer is no. The Magic won't do anything magical here, and it's just going to be fun. But Sprint Burst coming out one last time. OBOY with mini comeback number 6 here. And, oh, actually, the Claudette is not as important. The hatch is going to be more important, but the Magic is going down. So that's going to sum it up. We are going into the tiebreaker, and Q, now I'm going to force you into a mini prediction with the Doctor. Who do you see as the stronger?
I mean, I think you got it when you look at it here. Momentum going to definitely be on the side of Astray here. Also, I think on the side of the survivors, I think we had seen a little bit of I don't want to say dysfunction, but not as much organization as we sometimes see on the side of OBOY. So I think I'm going to lead towards the side of Astray here, but I think this is going to only come down to probably a hook stage or 2. How about you, Dyer?
I do think so as well. What we have seen so far, especially with the back and forth, with the little mind games they are playing, with the little comebacks that are coming in. And we also have to keep in mind, in both games, there was a decision that was on the survivor team that led into worse consequences, right? The non-needed end gameplay with the Plague, and here on the Nurse a little bit too risky on one side as well. So there's a lot of potential for the Doctor set, but we need a winner in this best of 3. So it's going to be the Doctor, ladies and gentlemen, on Ratchet Chop. We will see you in a few minutes. All right, everyone, here we are. OBOY -4 and a second warning. The offering was missing. And that is very unfortunate now because we are with basically 2 generators down now based on the penalty and 2 warnings away from a DQ. So Astray in a very good position here, and I think we talked about momentum, right? So it is really, really good now when you go into the tiebreaker and the other team is taking 2 times a penalty, and you still have an option again to change your build while knowing exactly what they have taken. So what do you think about this 3rd try to play this tiebreaker?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point here, Julian got to be feeling pretty solid, pretty strong coming out here, knowing that you've got yourself a 4-point lead. You'd mentioned it. It's either 2 gens, 2 hooks, or a mixture of the 2, however you want to cut it, but that's the significant lead, especially in a set like the Doctor, where we anticipated that it was going to be very, very close. So hopefully loading in this time around, our survivors made sure to double, triple, quadruple check those builds, make sure all the offerings are in. We saw as far as with that first big boom, I think we got all 4 survivors there. We're also going to be getting ourselves a very strong pallet out of the way here early. That's going to be another thing that Julian, I'm sure, is going to be more than happy to take here. You'll see again a little bit of that split corrupt. Often happens here on Red Shop because of this, you know, basically the shape of the map and how these gens do tend to spawn in. You'll see those 2 gens that are over basically in front of main. I'm going to be curious to see what kind of like pallets and stuff are up there, because sometimes you can get quite the dead zone. That's a lot of resource, or a lot of gens up there that he'd be able to protect with little resources.
Little resources, you mention it. We do see the rotation around the shack here. The next shock is coming out, but not able to throw this survivor off. We are instead rotating over towards this truck here, and that's going to be a difficult one for Rocket. I hope there's a teammate coming in to protect them, but it doesn't seem to be the case, and that's going to be the first down into this game. I do hope that OBOY, if not sending any rescuer who's standing in the way of the killer, has a few objectives prepared here with the good pressure onto the generators. That's the case. 70 on the main building and doubling up on this generator over here. So in 20 to 25 seconds, we should potentially see a few generators being completed.
And here it's going to be interesting because you'll be able to stay protected over here. I'm trying to kind of keep an eye on, you've got a decent little 3, almost 4 gen. I'm not sure which generators right now are getting worked on. As far as from OBOY, I don't think they're a part of that generator setup. Yeah, they'll get 2 gens done here relatively quickly, but unless they're able to get the save and pull this aggro away from the shack more up towards that main building, honestly, Julian's still going to be in a very, very good spot. We do have both the ace and an additional survivor, I believe, still moving in. Yeah, we're going to be seeing coming in right there, getting the shock as well. Makes it a little bit easier. Just go ahead and go for the body block onto the knee and start this process as far as the tunnel out. We are going to see the shack pallet does go down. Another strong resource getting out of the way over in this portion of the map, because again, remember, over by the tractor, we've already gotten rid of that pallet here as well. So if you can get this down, it would be absolutely huge for Julian.
That is indeed the case. Julian would be in such a good spot, but OBOY fighting back here. Look at that, Q. They're now on 0 points basically because of the 2 penalty they got. So basically now it starts with 1 on stage applied already. They are doing a good job here on this pallet, but they could not drop it, and that should be the down onto Rocket here, and that's going to be the case. So the next hook stage is coming out, second one here. Doctor throwing the weapon a little bit, but when EU and America play against each other, that's going both ways here. So Julian back in a little bit of a better spot. OBOY, for me, still with a lot of control over the trial here, because 2 generators for 2 hook stages is a very good trade-off.
Yeah, and especially too, as we were looking around across the couple of survivors that were still left off of hooks, we know that a couple of the gens are sitting at least past that 40% marker. So you've got quite a bit of progress into the few gens that are left here. The question becomes, are you going to be able to at least maybe get a save or a reset onto La Magic before moving in with a 2-player save? Otherwise, we are more than likely going to be seeing Rocket just simply getting sacrificed to the entity. And if that's the case, you need at minimum one more gen. You'd prefer 2 more gens. I don't know if you have enough time to just simply sit with 3 people and get the last 3 gens done. You actually see the double players moving in here. That's going to be hitboxes going down. Oh, I thought we were going to be seeing the grab. Not going to be the case, but we now have 2 separate survivors down here on the ground underneath the hook. I think you're more than happy with letting that one survivor going away. Know that you're accruing a whole bunch of points here if you're Julian.
And hitboxes and the teammate here, Mathis, being down or on the hook are a huge trouble for Team OBOY. There's so much to do, right? You need to go for the unhooks, you need the potential resets, and then you need to work out the coordination for these generators again, because right now minimum 1 survivor has to rotate in working on these objectives. So that means that only 1 survivor is able to progress these 2 remaining objectives here. 11-2 the current score. OBOY absolutely with the back on the wall here. Unfortunately, a little bit of self-responsible due to the penalties that they received, and the Doctor is just waiting here, catching the points from the hook stages. Mathis is very likely going into the second stage here. I don't see a save happening, but Julian will defend that. So Q, I think our killer from Astray is just enjoying his position at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, really just to get the big vibe over here at the moment. 2 stages going to be forced here as well, which is going to be more points that progress towards your tally. And now you can't help but wonder, since you saw the resets coming in, if both survivors are over here, and yeah, you actually are going to get the aura reading on both of them. Now, what kind of control of the map can you continue to get? Because, you know, both hooks are over on the far side of the map. You still got a few gens around there that you can control here as well. They are going to split up here, both the Magic and Rocket. Try and see if they can move in for the save. I believe the Magic should be able to get this one back here for free, unless that shot comes in. Not going to be the case, but you may be able to still camp Mathis to death here.
And that is now going to be Mathis, as you mentioned. The last seconds for him in this trial, he was hopping in for the Doctor set. Unfortunately, then the guy that brought the adrenaline, and then the guy who missed the off break. So not a day for Mathis here, and for Team OBOY it's now going to be the elimination as well, leaving the trial very, very early. 3 OBOY survivors with 7 applied stages fighting against the final objective, and Julian here. And Julian is finding a phenomenal way between pressuring the generators and the survivors.
Yeah, and you know, as far as with some of the few mistakes on the map this side, can't even blame the 200 ping like he can when we see him competing over in the OCE region, unfortunately. Now with this being a 3v1 for Julian, now you get the vibe. You see 2 survivors are going to be over here by this broken truck. One of them being Hitboxes, who is already injured here. You've already got 7 hook stages here as well. If you're Julian, already setting a pretty good pace in your own right, not even taking into account the additional 4 points that have been handed over to you here by OBOY. Now you continue with this chase around the truck. You know, because of the shocks, you're not going to be able to get that pallet down. Just simply, oh, get stunned, stupid. Nice head on there. And you get the 5th gen popped as well. The only thing is now with that last gen, you see that haste status. We see it. They don't know it just quite yet unless they happen to walk by a glowy bone, but that means now no one is going to escape death. Not just that though, but here with that Rancor as well, you can simply remove them from the trial too.
That is indeed the case, and I think Julian wants exactly that. Give us a Mori already here in the red. There he is, Q! There he is! There's the magic that could be the Memento Mori basically with the Rancor here, but it's not going to be enough. It is denied for everyone in the DBDLeague audience. What an unfortunate event for Astray, but what a good one for OBOY here, because they really need these stages out of the door. -4 penalty, so that's going to be a huge setback onto the score there. Hitboxes is going to be hooked with 1 more stage, so we are on 8, technically on 10 stages, round about that with the penalty. So there's a lot of pressure for the upcoming trial number 6 that could bring the ultimate decision when we are talking about Astray or OBOY, who's going to be the better one. And let's find that out, ladies and gentlemen, in the next trial after a break.
All right, let's go ahead and take one more trip back into the fog. It all comes down to this. We're going to be seeing a rocket out here on the Doctor. Going to be seeing 4 survivors in here as well. Julian, Wispy, Zaphis, and Zim here trying to come in for Astray, trying to see if they can walk away. Stiff wind condition here, especially thanks due to those penalties. So I feel like as long as you can make this first chase, especially have a good little duration, get yourself a gen or 2, Astray would be in such a great position. Would you agree, Dyer?
I would agree for sure. With 2 penalties onto OBOY, that's going to be a very, very welcome task for the survivors here. And you do need a very, very quick down early on. You do need to set all the pressure if you're Rocket here. Let's see if he can do that. It's going to be a shock onto Julian here. Julian from NA West needs to be very careful because shocks, etc. are very delayed. OBOY just experienced that in the previous trial, so the players need to be a little bit extra careful and show us a little bit of extra understanding how this works. And Julian is going to go down relatively quickly. Now, Q, this is exactly what I call a dream start when being under pressure.
Yeah, we are going to see, though, we've got at least 1 gen that's relatively close to getting complete. We even have a second over here that our Kate's working on around the 50%. So even with the fast down, our survivors here for Astray still in a pretty solid spot. We are going to be seeing at least the big blast coming in, giving a little bit of information away here. As far as looking at the build, we've got that Call of Brine, which of course has become a staple. We've also got the Pain Res coming in here as well, and that Sloppy, just to give you a little bit of additional slowdown as far as when those resets come in here. So, you know, we've got a couple of survivors around us here at the moment. The one back towards the fun bus. We also know that we have the one that was kind of working on this generator here, which means limited progress being put into the gen right now, which is realistically what you're hoping for if you're Rocket, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is now going to be the next one right here. Coming through onto Wispy Rocket, immediately going for a Q. This is horrendous. This is so difficult. Now a generator in the distance, but look at that. That is not how you need to approach that. If you're Team Astray, the win condition for you is so good and everything is basically prepared, but you do get grabbed. Julian reaches the second stage as well. It seems like Sim is a little bit lost here, even spotted out by Rocket now. This is a turn for OBOY that has never before seen by anyone.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge momentum swing here, and now the question becomes, who do you prioritize? Do you prioritize picking up the survivor who's injured, who really can't help you on, well, I guess can technically help you on the pickup, but this is more time, less time getting worked on a gen somewhere. You already know that you've had 1 delayed grab, so you got a little bit extra to worry about. Plus 2, when you can come in with those static shocks as well, and so you're going to be able to, you know, prevent the unhook here. You can see that timer coming down. Another grab coming in here as well, and because you're absolutely crazy, you can't get the save with the flashlight. Another down as well, and Zaphis going to be the last one standing for Astray here.
This is insane. This is so insane, Q. This is so... I don't even know how to describe it. This is the first time ever we have seen anything like that. And this was potentially the biggest turn in the history of a tournament. There's a wiggle out, so another turn basically, but Wispy is still on the floor here. The pressure is still high for Rocket. That's going to be Shack Pallet sacrifice. So they are struggling a little bit free, trying to fight against the boys killer here, but Rocket's still in a very good spot, and you can tell by his confidence here going into this chase that he knows exactly in what a beautiful spot he is.
Yeah, now you're going to try and see. We've got scratch marks heading back towards the survivor that was slugged on the ground. So that means now 2 separate injured survivors are going to be back here at the bus. The bus pallet has already been thrown as well, so something that can get broken later. Another pallet resource down out of the way here. We're going to be moving into our long wall jungle gym here. Was able to avoid the static shock, which then means was able to make their way through the window. This is Wispy. If there is anyone on the squad here for Astray that you can count on to try and put yourself just 1 juicer of a loop in order to be able to buy back enough pressure, Wispy would definitely be one of the few on a short list. But I feel like at this point, with so much pressure being handed over, I think it'd be too little too late.
Yeah, a little bit too late is basically what it describes very, very well here with Wispy now going down here as well. So we do see that hook stage number 4 is coming in. On the paper, that doesn't sound too bad, right? 4 stages only so far, 3 generators. Okay, we had a little bit of a struggling early game. We can now fight back, but when you look deeper into what's happening here on the red shop, we still have 2 injured survivors, one of them in a very bad spot here right behind the shack, and the vault can be denied with the shock, and it's very, very nicely done here. No window for our Zephyrs and no pallet either, so double denial by Rocket here, and I do believe that's going to be just enough to get the down here. So our killer also not giving them any space to go for a reset.
Yeah, now too, it's going to be another fresh hook for you. I think that big news of not being able to get the resets is huge, right? Because you had mentioned 4 hooks at this point in the stage in the game. Not the worst. Well, now 5 hooks, not the worst of things, but because of the fact that this team had happened to get so spread after all of the madness that went on with that unhook and leaving a player's slugged, they haven't even been able to get the reset. Of course, the sloppy butcher also adds to that, because if you get interrupted during the heal, you basically go back to 0. That's going to be a down. Beautiful shot at the window. Should be able to get the down at this point, and that's going to be Wispy's 2nd stage as well.
And that means that Xim has to rescue Zephyrs in the distance, which means that no survivor is currently able to work on a generator. Now I would say if Wispy would be in a longer chase, then you can go for reset, go back on the generators, but Rocket still not allowing them a single second to do what they are supposed to do. We are now going to go for the generator over here.
There's a lot of pressure on it. You had to make sure you got that call of Brian. You know what I mean? All that pressure.
It's for the mindset, Q. It's for the mindset. If you see it all the way down to 0, it's a very, very good feeling for you. And our Zephyrs here, once again in the next chase, working around this little truck here, but unfortunately running towards the pallet. That will be one save. Oh, actually getting it just in time, but it is not enough distance anymore. The next shock is coming out, forcing Zephyrs around this pallet here, and that's going to... Oh, nice one here, though, for a few seconds, but Zephyrs now eventually going down. That's going to be the next hook stage, 2nd one onto this survivor as well. So the next one is going to be eliminated very soon. Wispy can be eliminated very soon. The only one that really carries a few points and a few more hanging time, that is going to be Xim. And if Rocket is now turning back towards Wispy, then Astray might be with a 2v1 here.
Yeah, we got that notification there as far as from the resonance there. So you have a little bit of as far as map awareness here, and you had mentioned Zim, once they go up on a hook, they're going to be the ones that's worth the most points, and there's still 3 gens that need to be completed here by Astray before they can even worry about powering those doors. All that pressure that they handed over to Rocket very early on, back at the shack, over with that unhook, and the very unfortunate 2nd grab going for the unhook has just really been hard for this team to be able to recover from. And now you can even see Rocket's going to be able to come back, disrupt this unhook on the only healthy survivor being Wispy here, and I think this is going to be Zephyrs just getting camped to their elimination.
Zephyrs now, yeah, just a few seconds away from the death, and for Rocket it's the best decision to take, right? Just getting rid of this survivor, forcing the 2v1 here. We do see a little bit of paying back of the teabagging and celebrating there that Astray was doing earlier. Sometimes it backfires if you do it in the previous trial, so OBOY here definitely now feeling in an even better spot. We do see the ball taken over the shack window, and the next mind games are about to start. Mac is going to take as much distance as possible, but this one will be denied here with the next shock, so that should be just a quick injury by Rocket. That is definitely going to be close enough distance, and now Xim and Wispy have to work it out. Both of them injured. We do have an amazing score for OBOY already, 5-point lead here, so we definitely need survivors out of the door here to catch up with that, and right now, Q, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and especially because you've already depleted a lot of these resources. So even right now, as Rocket tries to find which survivor to take chase, even this time around, you'll see Zim very quickly throwing this pallet makes it easier for Rocket to get those pallets down and out of the way. That way, even if there wasn't a chase to be in, the next chase that you go into, there's nothing to use. And now at this point, you're able to just get right here onto Kate back, keep shocking until you close the distance just enough. That's the downside about when you're trying to loop the Doctor. Herman Carter do officially go burr, and that's going to be a down here at that point. On to Zim. Remember, this is your fresh shook survivor. That's who you really wanted to secure the down on.
And that's now going to be the one you mentioned it, the one you want, the one that carries the most points, because that also takes the risk of him escaping last second and kind of swinging the result around here. So Wispy, with all the pressure on the shoulders, we don't see a generator, so maybe they have pulled back here a little bit and trying to set something up for the end game, which I believe would not be enough if they are still sitting on 2 generators here. And even this shock doesn't reveal the location. So Wispy pulled all the way back, hiding from Rocket here. But your fresh hook, the one you really need, that is the one that is hanging right there. Wispy slowly approaching, slowly coming closer. Rocket is going to wait until the static blast is coming back, then able to reveal the location. He's already looking towards the right spot of the wretched shop, kind of anticipating that the killer, the survivor would be there, but once again, same as we have seen on YoBoyCue, I think you just stay here, you just take the points you can get, and you just secure your stages.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very easy decision. You've earned this. I mean, basically vibe session that you get here. If you're Rocket, you were able to play around the unhook so well earlier. And at this point, you just get to watch kind of as the fruits of your work basically get to unravel here. Now's the second stage on to Zim. And because Wispy is the last one in the trial, not going to be able to heal themselves either. Quick big shock here. Try and see if they can get the location. There it is. And now we're just going to go on ourselves on one last chase. I would imagine at this point Zim is just going to miss those skill checks, try and see if they can open up the hatch and allow Wispy to escape that way, but as you had mentioned earlier, would not be enough, and it's going to be oh boy, even after the 2 penalties very early on, it's going to be them moving on with the dub here.
That is a really, really insane performance, and that tells us a lot about OBOY, right? We talked about it in the campfire chat. We talked about how strong OBOY is when they are facing difficulties. We talked about how they like to take challenges from time to time, but that it's going to be so insane with 2 penalties and still pulling the win here. That is absolutely phenomenal. OBOY is coming out as the winner with the 2-1 in the set points. They are going to move forward. They will face in round 2 the winner of Eternal versus Torment. That's going to be our second one of today. If you're a fan of Astray, don't be sad just yet, because it's a top 8 tournament. We will see them in the lower bracket returning in the upcoming weeks. So there's a lot more waiting, and we want to thank both teams for showing an amazing performance here. We are setting up Eternal and Torment.